What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love After Lockup Season 6, Episode 6, Quit Playing Games. Let's talk about Alexis, Julius, and Ashley. So before we get into the segment, I just wanted to make a little side note that I had seen a video clip of Ashley in a music video. I don't know how long ago it was, but somewhere back in the day, Ashley used to be a video vixen. I'm probably the last one to find this out, but I had no idea. She used to be a video vixen and she was dancing in some rapper's video. I don't remember who the rapper was. I think the song was produced by T-Pain. I'm not sure. But she was doing her thing in this rap video. And yes, she did look drastically different. And I can see how Julius probably felt like he was catfished if she was sending him images of her former self and not of her current self. I don't know exactly what happened to Ashley, but when I was reading the comments to that video clip, people were saying that she had suffered like a really devastating loss. I don't know if it was the loss of a child or the loss of a very close relative. And so that took a toll on her emotionally and mentally. And so her appearance drastically changed. She put on some weight, I guess, et cetera, et cetera. So I was really shocked to see that she used to be a video vixen back in the day, and she did look really good. So the segment that we're at now is at the part where Julius is leaving her hotel. So he came to see her and he lied to Alexis and told Alexis that he was going to hang out with one of his homeboys, but he instead goes to see Ashley. The meeting did not go well. He says, he talked about how he felt like he was being catfished. And he basically told her that he really wasn't interested in anymore. Anything that he said to her, any lies that he told her while he was in prison, she shouldn't have taken it seriously. It was just for play, and that he had no intentions of being her man. He had a girlfriend. He told her, I have somebody else. She thought that they were going to be together, that he was going to help her raise her children, that they were going to get married, etc. And he basically was like, put the brakes on that real quick. And he left expeditiously. He left her devastated. So Alexis, while he's away with Ashley, Alexis is talking to one of her friends, and her friend asked her, y'all's first night together, did you let him shoot up the club? And Alexis said, I don't know. Okay, how would you not know? And then she said, I don't do that with everybody. So she must have known, and she did allow him to shoot up the club. But she said she doesn't do that with everybody. And I'm surprised that she would let that happen, let Julius, of all people, shoot up the club. Someone who's just gotten out of prison. This is the first time that they've ever physically seen each other. I would have thought that anyways, but she is trying to have a baby. So I guess she has to let him shoot up the club. So people are harping on, I should have talked about this last week and the week before. People are on the internet and whatnot. They're really harping on the fact that Julius had said that he had not been with a woman in 6 years. Because people are alleging that he's probably was messing around with men behind bars. And if he was doing that, I don't think prisons accommodate safe sex practices behind bars. And so if he was doing that and then, Alexis allowing him to shoot up the club, this is so unsafe all the way around. It's ridiculous. If only Alexis would have been a little bit more patient and demanded on him getting checked before she was trying to have a baby with him. Alexis tells us that she has the gift of discernment because she's very suspicious of Julius, with him telling her that he's going to go hang out with a friend. I guess how he's been acting. She feels like there's something else going on with him, but she doesn't want to confront him with that right away. So she's very, very suspicious. They go somewhere to go play games, and I thought they were going to like a pool hall because as they were going up the door, as they were approaching the door to this establishment, they're like, yeah, let's go inside and play these games. So I thought it was going to be like a pool hall with a pool table and maybe, throw darts or something like that. It was like board games, Monopoly, Connect Four, Operation probably. So yeah, so they start playing Connect Four, and her whole demeanor is kind of off because she's very suspicious of Julius, and he picks up on it, and so he's like, "Are you good? Are you okay?" And she asks him if she is the only one in his life, and he tells her that there was somebody else. So I'm not sure, and I know that the producers had a lot to do with how this scene played out, because in a normal situation, when she asked him, "Is there somebody else?" and if he wanted to be honest with her and say, "Yes, there is somebody else, but I broke it off with her," that's how it would normally go. But of course, the producers want to build suspense. So when he said that there was somebody else, I was expecting him to complete his sentence and say, "Yes, there is, but I'm not with her anymore." But they ended it right there. She gets up, she runs to her car, and she is crying in the car. And I'm pretty sure, of course, they wanted to kind of like leave that on a cliffhanger so that we'll be tempted to come back next week and hear him finish out his explanation that, yes, there is somebody else, but I broke it off with her. I'm assuming he's meaning Ashley, unless there's another girl in the picture. I'm going to assume that he's talking about Ashley. So I'm wondering how Alexis felt looking back on the show after filming had wrapped, that she was, pregnant. She found out that she was pregnant, and to see that he was talking to Ashley while he was incarcerated. He was playing both of them. I wonder how that felt. But putting that aside, I don't know why, and I'm probably going to eat these words later, but Julius, for some reason, is kind of growing on me. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about that kid, but he's kind of growing on me. Like I said, I did like how he broke it off with Ashley. He didn't try to lead her on. He didn't try to stay in that relationship just to use her, either to use her for sex or to use her for money. He broke it off. And he made it very clear, I did not tell that girl to get a tattoo of my name on her. She did that completely on her own. So he broke it off with her. He tells the producers in his confessional that he is focused on Alexis and he considers Alexis his girlfriend. So I was happy about that. He wasn't talking about how, she was just a friend with benefits or an F buddy, or he's just going to see where it goes. He was like saying, "This is my girl. She's my girlfriend and I'm focused on her. I'm not with Ashley anymore." Now, I think they also asked him if there were other girls. I don't know if I imagined that, or if that really happened, or if it happened on a previous episode. And I think, he kind of gives an answer that's like a kind of like keeping that door open. Like he doesn't really want to say, I don't know, but from what we have seen so far, and I know things can change, but from what we have seen so far, I'm okay with Julius. Let's move on to JK and Brooke. So they left his grandmother's residence and they're supposed to be driving back to JK's mother's house because JK, I think he has an ankle bracelet and he has to meet his curfew. And Brooke wants them to go to her house so for him to meet her two children. And he doesn't want to do that because he's going to break his curfew. And if he breaks his curfew, there's a chance he may go back to prison. And so they're arguing about that. Like it's a really bad argument. He's calling her all kinds of horrible names. They're yelling, they're screaming at each other, they're slamming car doors. So he grabs the keys, he walks around the car, and he wants to drive because she was driving too damn slow. So he wants to take over and drive. And I think she allowed him to drive. I think she did. He was so aggressive and so loud and so verbally abusive. I was like, "Brooke, make this the last time that you waste your time with this guy," because it was like bordering on abusive, the way he was talking to her, the way he was screaming at her. But she wasn't making the situation better by wanting to go to her place first, knowing that he had to meet his curfew. I don't know why she kept on insisting on that. Like I said, the producers probably had a hand in how this scene played out to make it more dramatic, because anybody with sense would have tried to get him home as soon as possible for him to make his curfew. And I think Brooke has a little bit of sense. So for her to insist on going to see her children, it didn't make any sense to me. So I'm thinking that they just wanted to play it up for dramatic effects. Okay, so they get to JK's mother's house. They go inside the house. His mother's there, and the mother wants to know what the argument was about. They tell her what it was about, and she automatically sides with her son. In that situation, even though JK's delivery to Brooke on insisting on wanting to come back to his mother's house was wrong, his delivery was a little bit abrasive or a lot abrasive, he was technically right because he had to come home and meet curfew. Okay, I don't know why, Brooke wanted to be playing around talking about, "Let's go see my kids." He had to go home and meet curfew. So the mother took her son's side, which made a lot of sense. And when he was yelling and screaming at her at the car, she was talking, big talk about how, "I will never let a man talk to me like this again, and I'm not going to allow to be treated like this." But at his mother's house, when she threatened to leave, he chased her outside to the garage. He sweet talked her, gave her a couple of kisses, and she quickly gave in. She quickly gave in to him. So now it's the day of JK's welcome home party. And Brooke is still complaining about JK not meeting her damn children. It's the next day, a new day. We're having a party, a celebration of JK being released from prison. And she's still harping on the fact that he didn't want to go meet her kids the day before. But then she tells us that her kids are going to be coming to the party. So, girl, if he was going to see your kids anywhere the next day, why did you make a big stink about it? Once again, it just proves to me that the producers made that scene bigger than what it was, because the kids were going to be coming over the next day for him to meet anyways. Okay. So at the party, Brooke and JK's stepdad are having a conversation. And for some crazy reason, probably producer induced, the stepfather tells Brooke that JK is still a player. He's still, out in these streets. He's got a whole bunch of women, and you're just one of many. You're not the only one. So then Brooke gets upset. She goes to JK. She demands to see his phone. He gives her his phone. She takes the phone inside the house, goes inside the bedroom. She's looking through it. She sees that his ex-girlfriend, whatever her name is, what's her name? I forgot her name. Alex, I think. His ex-girlfriend is still like one of his Facebook friends. So she blocks the ex-girlfriend from his Facebook. She looks to see and she sees that there's other females that he's got their phone numbers and their contact information. So while she's trying to be Inspector Gadget, he's outside with his cousin, and he uses his cousin's phone to call his ex-girlfriend. He just wants to make sure that the ex will not be coming to this welcome home party. And then he makes plans with his ex-girlfriend to see her the next day. So she's thinking that she's really doing something by going through his phone and blocking females and whatnot. And he's, using his friend's phone to make arrangements to see another woman the very next day. So when she confronts him about the girls on his phone, he plays ignorant. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. What girls? Whatever. Let's move on. So that is JK and Brooke. Moving on to Joey and Michael. So Michael says that, or he tells us that Joey loves him stronger than he should. So already, Michael is giving signs that he feels like he's being smothered in this relationship, that Joey is in this more than he is, basically laying down the foundation of, I don't know, cheating or possibly breaking up with Joey to go do his own thing. He's already complaining. But when he was still in prison, when they were on Love During Lockup, the sun rose and set around Joey. Michael could not wait to be with Joey, couldn't wait to see Joey. It was all about Joey, 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 Joey. Now that he's out and he's got all of his contacts back on his phone, now he's like, oh, he's more into this than I am. He likes me more than I like him, etc. So they also so he talks about how they're not sexually compatible. He says that he himself, he's into some more experimental, freaky kind of stuff, and Joey's a little bit too vanilla for him. So the first night together, so he goes back to the hotel. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this. No, that's coming up next. So he goes back to their hotel, and Joey's already waiting for him in the hot tub, and Michael, strips down, gets into the hot tub with him. They start kissing, and the way that they were kissing, to me, when I looked at Michael, I could tell that Michael was trying to feel something for Joey. He was trying to get himself psyched up to be with Joey for the first time that night, or I don't know, for the first time since he's been released. And it just looked like he really wasn't getting to where he needed to be. Well, we find out the next day that it did not go well. The first night did not go well, according to Michael. Michael said he really wasn't feeling it. He really wasn't in the mood, and Joey couldn't get him in the mood. And he says because he's a top, there was no way for him to fake it or to pretend or anything like that, or he couldn't force it because he's the top. So Michael, on the other hand, he thought that the night went really well. Not Michael, Joey, on the other hand, he thought that the night went really well. He said that, even though we didn't get to have sex, we were able to cuddle and we talked all night long. So everything went well for Joey. So Michael has to go take care of his Medicaid. And before he leaves, he takes Joey's phone with him because he doesn't want to be bothered by Joey. He doesn't want Joey blowing up his phone, calling him like, where are you at? When are you coming home? What are you doing now? So he takes Joey's phone without Joey knowing. So he's out and about, taking care of his Medicaid, calling up his, F buddies, making arrangements to see his F buddies. And poor Joey's back at the hotel room. I guess he wanted to go work out and use his phone, and he couldn't find his phone. He's looking for his phone high and low. So when Michael finally does come back home, he comes back home with Joey's phone. He was like, "You left your phone in the car." And Joey was like, "I did? I thought I took my phone with me. I thought I had my phone with me all night." And Michael was like, "No, you left it in the car. So here you go." But in his confessional, the producers asked Joey, "Do you really believe that do you really believe that you left your phone behind? You don't think that Michael took your phone before he left that day?" And Joey was like, "No, I don't believe that he took my phone. I don't believe that he took my phone." I'm looking at Joey and I'm like, "Man, you are so far gone. Your nose is so wide open for this man. You are so far gone, Joey." Joey is like head over heels in love with Michael, and Michael could care less. Joey would let Michael get away with anything because he's just so into him. Okay. He doesn't see what we see. And he loves that man so much. And the producers are like telling him, "We're telling you because we recorded everything that he took your phone before he left to go apply for his Medicaid." And so finally Joy was like, "Okay, fine. I believe you. I believe you because that's what you're saying. Not because I really do believe that, but because that's what you're saying that I'll believe you." Child, moving on to Bradley and Savannah. Okay, y'all, Bradley is not interested in anything that Savannah has to say about his sisters. So Savannah feels like that she is basically battling against his sisters, especially the younger sister, Caddy, that they're like in this tug of war with Bradley. Caddy doesn't like Savannah. Savannah doesn't like Caddy, and Bradley's in the middle of all of this. And so Savannah, deep down inside, that Savannah wants Bradley to choose her over his family. And he will not do that because I don't think he's really that into Savannah. I think Savannah is rubbing him the wrong way because she's one of those girlfriends that's very overbearing, that is very controlling, and doesn't give him room to breathe. And so while she's, complaining about his sister, he doesn't want to hear it. He's like, "You know what? I don't want to hear what you got to say about my sister. This is between you and her. Just leave me the hell out of it." But whenever the sisters are complaining about Savannah, he's all ears. He's laughing and cackling and giggling with them about Savannah. He lets them go on and on and on about how they don't like Savannah, how Savannah's this, how Savannah's that. And he even contributes in the Savannah bashing when he's with his sisters. But when he's with Savannah, he doesn't want to hear Savannah talk about his sisters, but he's okay listening to his sisters talk about Savannah. So it's the next day, and Bradley's sister calls him and tells him, "Look, I booked a dentist appointment for you. Um, so get ready." Was it that? No, it was for the next day. So she tells him, "I booked a dentist appointment for you for 8 a.m., tomorrow. It would have been months out, but I was able to move it up. And so just be ready to get there tomorrow." And he's like, "Oh, great. Thank you." So Savannah comes down and he tells Savannah that the next day he has to go to the dentist because his sister booked an appointment for him. Savannah didn't like it because it wasn't her doing it. That's how much of a control freak Savannah is. She wasn't the one that booked the appointment. So she really wasn't pleased with this because she starts complaining about, "Well, how are you going to get there?" And he was like, "You're not going to take me?" And no, she wasn't. She had no intentions of taking him anywhere. And so she's kind of like, "Well, you're just going to have to figure it out." So he gets upset and he gets into her car, which is owned by her mom or her grandmother. I'm not sure, but he gets into her car and he drives off. And so she's like, "Oh, I know he didn't just drive off in my car without my permission." So she calls his sister, the one that she's kind of cool with. And I think her name was Alyssa. And she tells Alyssa, "Hey, your brother just took off in my car because we got into this argument and now he's in my car." And she says, "The last time that I did this, when I took off my mom's car, she called the cops on me." So the sister already sees the writing on the wall. She knows exactly what kind of time Savannah's on. She's on that I'm gonna call the cops and report the car stolen time. And so she quickly calls her brother while he's in her car, and she's like, you know what, turn around, go back to the house, give her back her car, because I think she's going to try to report the car stolen because she's so upset with you. And so that's where we're at with Bradley and Savannah. It's a bit dull with Bradley and Savannah, but y'all, I'm just making it do what it do. Moving on to number 5, Brian and Brooklyn. So Brian has been released from the halfway house, and he's been there for 3 weeks, and he's been paroled, I think, to Brooklyn's house. I think he's been paroled to Brooklyn's house. I'm not sure. So Brian tells us, he kind of gives us a little bit of background about their relationship. He talks about how they met when they were in high school, that Brooklyn was the one that pursued him. She chased him down until she finally got him. They've never had sex before, but they only kind of kissed or made out a little bit in high school. So so we know what's about to happen next. Okay, they're going to be spending their first night together. We know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to have the best sex of their lives, and they're going to talk about it and brag about it the next day to us. And unfortunately, we have to listen to it. So of course, the next day they talk about how wonderful it was. They did it like 5 times. You know how the story goes with this Love After Lockup people. So before they had sex, though, she had planned, she had made some fertility tea, and she wanted them to take this fertility tea because she wants to have a baby with him. Why are people rushing to just have babies? Why do you want that type of responsibility with someone that you have yet to establish a strong foundation with? That blew my mind that Brooklyn was trying to have them take this fertility tea to increase their chances of conceiving a child. Well, I don't know. Why don't you want to rush to get married? I don't understand why we are constantly trying to just have babies as soon as these guys are released from prison. Anywho, so that's what they want to do. They want to have a baby. Now, the next day is also the day of his welcome home party. And before things get started, we meet Brooklyn's daughter. So she has an 8-year-old daughter, and her daughter has a relationship with Brian. I'm assuming this relationship developed while he was incarcerated. The little girl was so happy to see Brian. She ran up to him, gave him a really big hug. Brian and her daughter call each other bestie, and she takes him up to her room. I kind of sort of felt some kind of way about this grown man being in this little girl's room, and he's not her biological father, but maybe I'm just old fashioned. So the little girl takes him up to her room, and she has a picture of her dad on the wall. And he goes, "Who's this?" And she goes, "Oh, that's my real dad." And then I guess she felt like he felt bad that his picture wasn't on the wall, because very quickly she says, "But I'm going to put your picture up there too, bestie." So they're talking. He's explaining to her how he got in trouble and what he did wrong to land him in prison, et cetera, et cetera. And, it is what it is, but we know how these relationships are in Love After Lockup. So whenever I see young children involved, I always feel bad, because it's like, I know that this relationship is not going to work out. And the people that are going to be left the most devastated will be the children, especially if the child has developed a relationship with this inmate parent, and they've bonded with them, they love them, they see them as some type of a parental figure, and then because mom and dad can't get it right and they end up breaking up or whatever, then the child is left feeling horrible. So I just don't understand why people get their children involved in these situations so quickly. I feel like Brooklyn should have waited until she figured out exactly, until she knew that her and Brian were going to get married. If y'all love each other that much, and y'all feel like y'all are solid, then get married and then slowly introduce your daughter to Brian, and then talk about having kids. This is just so bizarre. Moving on to Will and Courtney, the only couple that seems to have, it was trying to do it the right way. Okay, because he ends up proposing to Courtney, and she accepted. She said yes. And we find out that the engagement ring, according to Will, was $10,000. So I don't know what's going to happen if they break up. I don't know who's going to have custody of the ring if they end up breaking up. Anywho, so it's their first night alone at the hotel. She's not going to spend the night because she still has to report back to the halfway house. But they will spend a little bit of time together at the hotel. So, of course, after dinner, they make it do what it do. Courtney says that she hasn't been with did she say she hasn't been with anyone? I think she said she hasn't had sex in 2 years. She didn't say I haven't been with a man in 2 years. She just says I haven't had sex in 2 years. So this is kind of different from what Julius was saying. But anyway, I don't want to dissect that because I don't think that really means anything. We're splitting hairs when we try to figure out, well, what do they really mean when they say that they haven't been with a woman in 6 years? But I don't know. So after they have their little time together, of course, it was wonderful. She tells us that he's a big old freak. He takes her back to the halfway house, and on their way there, they talk about getting married. And Will says, well, why don't we just get married tomorrow? And she agrees. Now, do I think that's also problematic in a way? Yeah. For them to try to get married so soon without really getting to know each other well. She even said, I don't really know this guy. She's like, yeah, I don't really know this guy, but she accepts the proposal because it's the only way for them to continue to be together in another state because he lives in California and she was released in Oregon. And so they're only getting married so that they can be allowed to leave the state together, which is a really horrible reason to get married. It just shows that they're not taking marriage very seriously. But then again, it's better than trying to have a baby as soon as like hours after somebody's released from prison. So that's Will and Courtney, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.